Dan Renner
is now joining.
I've tried putting because they said they want to.
Well, here I am. Ta-da.
I'm so happy that you work here.
Did you sign anything?
Sir, yes, sir. I follow all rules and instructions.
Kitty, did you get
No, I don't think so. No, I don't want to talk. I just want to listen to you.
I mean, if they all know about
You don't have a tape.
yeah.
You don't have a sliding tape.
I should get the quote. Yeah. Who can catch up? On the motor coach.
That was the first conversation right there. But
Gilbert, ready?
Quotation came in down below. So I see that.
Okay, so this the
But if the original came down here, we're the secretary at 1 p.m.
Well, we're hearing their background right now. Jeremy, we're going to start.
okay. We called the meeting to order. You stand with us and do the pledge of allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Roll call, please.
Chairman Azarmi.
Here.
Vice Chair Hamilton.
Here.
Board Member Rugi.
Here.
Board Member Walker.
Here.
Board Member Profit. Board Member Profit. Absent. Board Member Renner.
present remotely.
Renner remotely. Board Member McKee. Board Member McKee. Also absent. Do I have a quorum?
My key. Doug, can you hear us? No, I guess so. Thank you. Now we call for the approval of the February 10th, 2021 workshop minutes. If you read, if you have any motion to approve it? Do we have a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve.
Okay, we have a motion by Board Member Walker. We have a second?
I'll second.
We have a motion and second. For the discussion, if I may add that I read the minutes, and there was one discussion we had, which we're going to elaborate on it in a later part of this meeting, because some of the community members, they were concerned that, when we adopt the 2018, there might be some additional changes coming after that. And one of the discussion we had was that, any changes from that point on would be, brought up or, to the Code Advisor Board for further discussion. And I don't see that on this, but it is not a big issue. We just want to make sure that, for the record, we will be able to bring that up. So any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any nays? Any nays? We have the vote. Motion carries. Okay, I did talk to Vice Chair Richard, and instead of going through your order, if you don't mind, we would like to go ahead and address the complaint or whatever we can call it, that item at the beginning. Would that be okay?
Agenda item 2.
Is that item 2? Okay, so item number 2. Would that be okay?
Item 2 is the appeals case. Yes.
Right. All right, so we're going to go with item number 2. So you want to, Gilbert, elaborate on that, read it?
And Chairman Azarmi, Jeff Hawes from the County Attorney's Office. I just want to, as the board hasn't met for a year, I just wanted to remind the board, given this specific item, that what is being dealt with here and what's been agendized is an appeal of the determination by the building inspector that the structure is dangerous. And so the options for the board are to either affirm the decision by the building inspector or to overturn that determination, but nothing further than that.
I appreciate that. Thank you. Gilbert?
Chairman Rosani, board members, this case is an appeal of the decision of the building official declaring the property at 6668 West 17th Street in Dolan Springs, Arizona, APN number 319084528. A as in Adam. On your screens, we have some pictures to show you. In your packet, there are some black and white photos, but we felt it would be better to show you the color pictures that we took out in the field during the inspection. Also in your packet is a dangerous building rating worksheet that we use. It does state the code sections of the International Property Maintenance Code, which the county has adopted by reference. There's specifically 11 different items that would constitute an unsafe or dangerous building, and some other sections that constitute property conditions that are not safe or sanitary for the property. And I'll just go through some of the pictures real quick. I guess I gotta scroll. Oh, there we go. So as you can see, the structure, the structure was started somewhere around 2007, according to some aerial photos that we found in assessor's records. It's a fairly substantial structure. It is located on 2.6 acres in the Dolan Springs area. The grounds and the area is, I would say, littered with debris and other materials, as in this case, building materials, as you're seeing here. The structure, the property is partially fenced, but people have been getting into the property. The structures are unsecured. Again, there's a lot of material. Some of it appears to be construction material. Inside the structure, obviously hasn't been finished. Roofing is missing, which constitutes a lot of water damage and a lot of structural damage to the shear structure and the structural integrity of the building. Again, the OSB on the outside is starting to delaminate. I guess that's the end of my pictures. So going back to the violations of record, we have one of the unsafe structure, obviously. Well, I'll just read the report for you. The main structure is in such a state of decay and disrepair as to constitute a hazard. The exterior sheathing and the upper sheet flooring show signs of water damage and decay. The roof and sides are open, which allow water and intrusion to the interior framing members. The roof trusses also show signs of water damage and decay. The openings of the second story offer no fall protection. The egress pathways are blocked with debris and do not provide safe passage through the structure. The structure is open to unauthorized persons, which constitutes an attractive nuisance, and appears the construction has been abandoned. The property, while partially fenced, also allows for unauthorized entry. Due to these violations, the structure has been condemned and deemed unsafe under the 2018 International Property Maintenance Code. And that concludes our case.
Any questions for Gilbert? I have questions, a couple of questions. Number one, has there been any permit applied for this building?
No, sir, there's no permits on file for the structure.
No permit at all?
None. A septic permit was pulled, but was never installed.
So the building was built at risk without any permission, without any inspection of any inspector whatsoever, correct?
But it appears that this might be in the overlay zone, but in 2007, the overlay zone went away, and all building permits were required in the county after 2007. So again, the aerial photos that we obtained, even the assessor's records, kind of place us at 2007, so it could be, and we might, as a compliance measure, might look at permitting the structure under the overlay zone. But as to date, no permits are on file for this structure.
Appreciate that. Any questions for Gilbert? Do we have the applicant here?
Sure.
Applicant is not here? Oh, we have the applicant. Excuse me, before you come over, I'm sorry, Richard.
Gilbert, I did have one more question on the permitting. The overlay ended in 2007, but if I remember correctly or understand correctly, doesn't there has to be continued construction on the structure to still fall under that overlay?
In the overlay zone, structures were going to be identified by the zoning department with a zoning permit. So if you obtained a zoning permit prior to 2007, it established the structure, but there were not any inspections conducted. As this structure did not even have a zoning permit, there is, and we have done some of we called amnesty permits. If we can establish that the structure was constructed prior to 2007 and didn't obtain a zoning permit, they can apply for an amnesty permit. But again, like you said, the structure has to have continual construction to completion. And in this case, has not been completed.
So does that make it unpermitted per county standards or building code standards?
Yes, sir, it does. Yeah, it'd be an unpermitted structure.
Richard, you want to turn the microphone on? That's all right, no problem. Any other question? Let's hear from the applicant. Ma'am? Please. Please state your name and your address for the record.
Okay. My name is Janie Hilario, and my address is 5419 Spencer Street in Las Vegas, Nevada.
Okay, go ahead.
Well, first of all, yeah, this property was bought a long time ago, and before we bought the property, we asked if there was any building.
May I ask you to pull the microphone closer to you?
Oh.
So, there you go.
Okay, I'm sorry. Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Okay. We bought the property a long time ago, and it was vacant as it was for the longest time. And little by little, we started cleaning it up and adding, stuff to it. We did do the foundation. We had a truck come out, and we had people come and help us and then we built up, and we also put the trusses. They were bought. We didn't make the trusses. They were purchased. So all the structure and everything was really good at the time. I've gone now to see the property, and it's pretty solid still. And yes, he's correct. There is water damage because the roof wasn't completely finished, so water did drain down there. But the main reason why that property was like that was because we couldn't access the building because I couldn't go by myself, but we had thousands of dollars of equipment in there. And my husband had to go to Alaska. And while he was out there, somebody came in and took everything we owned. We didn't even have a gun to do the construction. And of course, coming back, it was like so sad. And then he got really sick. And then later, we got COVID. For 2 years, we couldn't even come. After that, I called the inspector and told him that, we were going to start working on it. At that time, the people still were afraid of COVID. They were going to help us. They wouldn't come out, and I couldn't do it by myself. So anyway, the bottom line is, at this point now, we have cleaned up a lot of the property on the outside. All that debris is gone and out. We still have, I'm not going to say equipment, but some type of material that is still usable, that's, metal or so forth, glass windows and stuff that are sitting there. And it does look like junk, but it's actually usable stuff. But all the stuff that we had is completely gone. And yeah, somebody went in there and took all the stuff, not just the good stuff from the outside, but everything we had. We're talking electrical lifts, guns, surveying equipment and stuff, because we did do everything to code, because, we want to make sure that structure. Now, we did come and have a meeting here a few years ago because of the height of and we have a variance approval on that. There was some kind of permit, he can talk a little bit because I don't remember, I'm not too familiar with that. And let me let him talk to you about that permit that was done.
Could you state your name and if your address, please?
Yes, my name is Colonel Fett, and my current address is HC 60 Box 3030, Delta Junction, Alaska, 99737. And when the structure was started, a permit for the structure and with the thieves that are in the area, I visited the property, and we have an RV up there, but the files that I had for the permit, all that stuff is gone.
Are you saying that you had a permit or you don't have?
A permit was pulled for the construction of it. I do not have it. It should be in the county records somewhere. Because I believe, according to this gentleman, they took aerial in 2007, and I believe it was permitted in 2006. I don't have that information because when you look at the photos that were being presented, yes, it's going to cost us several. We've already spent probably $5,000 just in the minor cleanup that we've accomplished so far. We're doing more cleanup. We're going to meet with somebody when we leave the meeting today to go look, because there's more cleanup that has to be done. There's a structure that was construction, a temporary structure that we're going to have removed, demolished and removed, and that area all cleaned up. But it's been a nightmare. When I visited the property, I believe it was Monday of this past week, and I'm pretty. A report's been made to the Mojave County Sheriff's Office, but unless you have videos and things of that, we're going to have to bear the cost, whatever it's going to take. And that's what we're trying to do is to get it back into there. I advise Janie that the best thing for us to do is to probably, and I've contacted a couple structural engineers to get a report to see if it can be modified or taken care of to see what damage they have. And there's testing they can do is to find out the viability of the structural study. I agree that when I looked at it, the OSB on the exterior looks pretty bad, but there's a way to repair that by putting purlins and metal siding in case the whole building with metal. With the purlins, but this, after I contact the structural engineer, they could better advise.
Have you consulted with the structural engineer you're planning to do?
I've made a few phone calls and I haven't got a call back yet.
Okay,
Maybe because of the area, you know, they have to put a schedule in there.
All right, I appreciate it. Are you completed? You're done?
Pardon?
Do you have any other comments that you would like to make?
Well, I mean, if at all possible, I would like to continue. If I don't have, I know the letter that I got said that I had 30 days and you would destroy the building. And it would cost $65,000. We don't have that kind of money to put in right away. We could take care of it as we go along like we were doing originally. But again, things happened and, you know, medical, COVID, you know, not being able to come out here and the people taking all our equipment and everything. So that delayed it and we're ready now. I mean, to start if you grant us, you know, an extension or, you know, start from square one again, but first just get it to make sure that like he said, that the structure is okay and move forward if it's, you know, if we have a chance. It's just that, you know, we don't have the money right now to
Thank you.
To lose.
Do we have any question from the board members?
You did not bring any pictures or anything of any of the cleanup you've done?
I have them on my phone, but I didn't, I have a few, but they cleaned up about a month ago, about 3 weeks ago, and they were cleaning up this week also. And we went there and it does look a lot better. But on our way back, we're going to stop and take more pictures.
Without photos, it doesn't help me if you just say you've cleaned it up. I mean, you had months to, I mean, this was February, Gilbert? I mean, this is end of June.
Right, and because I talked to the inspector.
To bring some pictures and clean it up.
Chairman Azarmi and Board Member Rugi, I apologize for the mispronunciation. Perhaps it would be, Board Member Rugi is asking for any photos. You indicated that you do have some photos on your phone. Those can be shown at the podium if you're willing to show them. I just wanted to make that clear because the question's been asked and it sounds like there are some photos on the phone if you'd like to show them so the board can look at those.
Thank you.
And Mr. Walsh or Mr. Smaby can likely help you with that.
He didn't send them all.
And Chairman.
And Chairman, may I add a thing or two with this?
Let's see if there, one moment.
While this is coming up.
Yeah, but I mean, they need to listen to your, let's see if they're.
I would also like to add Mr. Prophet, Renner, and McKee are on the line as well.
Say it again?
We have all the board members currently.
You have all of them, okay. So,
We didn't have time.
Board Member McKee is online right now.
Definitely. I figured it
Chairman
was
Rosani.
going, but if you can.
Yeah, one moment, please. Let's see what Director Walsh is resolving there.
Say like, there's one, all the debris that was on, he didn't do a lot.
I guess Director Walsh need your help. IT.
I didn't take a lot of photos because I knew it was already clean, but here's one where all that trash was out there. It's completely clean now. Every area of all the structure where all the buildings are or whatever, it's clean, see?
Yeah.
I'm sorry I didn't take more, but
Okay.
it's the doorway.
Go ahead, Richard.
It's very clean now.
I know we can see the photos of it being clean, but I think what we need to remember is That's only one deal of this violation. Our only job right now to do is determine if the county was correct in their paperwork. And because I know she mentioned granting an extension, that's not up to us.
No.
It's just up to us to see if the county, Gilbert, did properly.
Right, absolutely. If I may add to it, ma'am, I've been in construction 42 years. And by education, I have a master's degree in civil engineering. My specialization is in a structure. So just want to let you know. On Monday, I made a trip to your property. The pictures that I got was black and white and was not really, I couldn't make a decision on it. And I wanted to make sure that, I do my due diligence. And I'm from Fort Mojave, Arizona, hour-and-a-half drive going, an hour-and-a-half drive coming back. I went there. Respectfully, your site was not cleaned up. I walked around it. I have pictures, and I looked at the structure itself. If I may ask, there you go. These are the pictures that I took. You have the ceiling trusses delaminating, the lumber that is in the ceilings. Every plywood that you can see right there is coming off. It is being weathered. I don't know how much you know about lumber. Normally, when you buy it, if it's a good lumber, you have less than 19% moisture in it. And when you let it sit for that long, it gets completely dehydrated. The day that I was there, it was 99 degrees. And of course, it can be up or down, doesn't matter. It gets dehydrated. Then you have rain. As soon as you have rain, it acts like a sponge. It sucks all the moisture inside of it and becomes all swells up. And then goes to the next drought or the dryness that you have, and it's going to do the same thing. So the integrity of the lumber, integrity of the wood material structurally is going to get damaged even if you have it for 2 years. This particular case has been about 15 years. So this building being exposed to the weather and being not covered, that's why you basically have, lath on the outside, drywall inside in a timely manner to be able to protect your lumber. I can understand, and I was surprised to see such a building in that magnitude over there, middle of everything else that I saw. I was shocked. I did not go inside because I didn't have the permission, but there was one area in the back that the wire was cut or was an opening. Through there I saw some of the thing. I didn't go inside of it. You have windows back there that some of them are trashed, some of them are broken and all that. But in regard to the structure itself, in my opinion, unfortunately, and I understand what you're saying, it is going to be a very unsafe, and I have no idea who, as a structural engineer, would dare to stamp something like this as an approved, a building that is safe. I can tell you right now, without any hesitation, that I agree with the building official assessment of the building, not even going inside, because I was through the opening, saw some of the trusses that I saw that they were all, the gusset plates were separating itself. And if you're familiar with the truss system, which is an engineered member of the structure, you have the gusset plates that they place in when the lumber is still has some integrity and 19% or so moisture. They roll it through like rollers and becomes like a structural member. And that structural member goes on the roof, on the load-bearing walls, and then you would be able to wrap it up and make sure that it gets done within a reasonable amount of time. This building sitting there for that length of time, and based on the conversation I just had earlier, that it went through different cycles of absolute dehydration and then moisture, none of these members are acting as it was engineered by the truss company and the truss engineer that was done. So again, even if you're going to plan to use it for yourself, it would be unsafe. If you are going to use it for speculation, it's going to be unsafe. And again, I do not have a biased opinion. I'm giving you my professional opinion with that many years in construction. I'm sorry that you have really invested a lot of money, and due to whatever circumstances that it was, left out there, unfortunately, based on what I saw out there, and I basically took time to look at it, very carefully. This building, unfortunately, is not usable. And it is my opinion that, the board would actually do a favor to the future people if they're going to be using this building, not to approve it and to concur with the building official on this building. As I said, I went there. There were trash out there. There were trash around it. There is a broken truck with no wheels on one side of it. You know what I'm talking about? Around the front and all that, you have, trash out there and equipment and all that. And on the behind the building, there are a lot of, equipment, different equipment that I saw out there, which that's a land use ordinance violation. I'm not going to get to that part of it. That's not our jurisdiction. Our jurisdiction is to see if the building official is correct on his assessment. And in my opinion, most definitely, he is right on the money on that. And I think that, you should, accept the fact that, this is not a safe building at this time after this many years.
Okay.
Any other comments?
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
Doug McKee. I can concur with the Chairman. My biggest concern, and I did not personally cite, I have pictures, my respect for Mr. Chairman as a contractor and experience. I concur 100%. I've been a general contractor for 33 years. And my concern as a member of the board would be the county accepting any type of responsibility by continuing this or signing off on anything. That's a huge liability. That's my opinion on this. I lean and side with the county on this.
Okay. Board Member McKee, so based on the fact and based on the observation that we have, do you find this building to be safe? Because I can hardly hear you.
I'm sorry, Mr. Chairman. Is this better? Can you hear me okay, Mr. Chairman?
I can hear you. This is Chairman Renner.
Okay. Can you hear me in the boardroom at all?
We don't communicate very well. But anyway, do we have any other questions?
Mr. Chairman, I really have to throw this out there strongly so we don't have the liability. We're not here to determine whether the building's safe or not. We're here to determine whether the building official on his assessment that they gave us was correct or not. And I'll agree that some of them are correct with Mojave County. A couple of them I would give to neighborhood services, I guess, if you will, like the cleanup and things like that. But as far as some of these code violations, I will agree with the county on that, but we can't determine, this board cannot determine whether the building is safe or not. We just have to determine whether the county made the right call or not.
Okay.
And just for clarification purposes, that's correct. I just want to clarify that what the board is determining here, and there's a lot of information in the backup materials as to land use violations and such as well. But the determination of the building official is that this is a dangerous structure under the code. And so that's what the board is looking at, is whether or not this is a dangerous structure under the code. If yes, then the board would vote to, or members of the board who agree would vote to affirm the decision of the building official. If members of the board disagree, they would make a motion and vote to overrule the building official.
So if the terminology is to use the word dangerous, then, I say that this building is dangerous based on what I saw out there and based on the history of it. So maybe that would help. With that, I guess the vote that we can have is to concur with the building official, right?
It would require a motion from one of the board members to either affirm the decision of the building official or to overrule the building official's determination.
So
then I would make a motion that we affirm the building official's determination.
okay.
And I second that as well, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, we have a motion and we have a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any nays? Okay, we have the vote. Motion carries. Thank you. Okay, we go back to item number 1.
Chairman Azami, is this microphone on? I barely hear myself. The next item on the agenda, item 3, is proposed amendments. As you're aware, it's been almost a year since we adopted the 2018 code. We did know there were going to be some changes or some amendments coming down the road. It's been a year now. We've picked out, I believe, about 7 of them to go over with you today. Some are clarification and some are just some things that got missed during the code adoption. So if you look in your packet, I'll just go over these one by one. In the International Building Code, under section 105.5, under the expiration of permits, there was a...
I'm sorry, which item are you looking at? Is that the June 9th, 2022?
Chairman Azarmi, if I may just ask a quick question of council. The report here lumps items 3 through 8, I believe is 8?
Correct, yes.
3 through 8 in one report. Would it be acceptable to consider all of them as one item?
I printed mine, so.
It would be inappropriate the way that it's been agendized to handle them all in lump sum. So as the board goes through each individual item, it would be appropriate for the board to make a determination on each suggested amendment.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay.
One by one based on that.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you for that clarification. So item number 3 on the agenda is discussion and possible action for recommendation of building fences, International Building Code section 105-.2 and International Residential Code R105.2. What the current ordinance reads and how we had it adopted was that materials and block walls up to 7 feet in height measured from the bottom of the footer to the top of the wall. The part we're going to amend out is the bottom of the footer to the top of the wall. We put this in the original amendments to be consistent with how we measure retaining walls. But as we found from developers and from some of the contractors, when you have staggering lots, there's some difficulty in the measurement or where you measure that line from. So talking with a lot of the zoning and also contractors is we want to propose the amendment to read measured from the lowest property grade. And then it'll be 7 feet from wherever the grade starts, not counting the footer. So you'll be able to have a 7-foot wall at the lowest side, and dealing with some of the contractors, you would have a 5-foot wall on one side and a 7-foot on the other side. And
So the footing would not be measured, basically?
Correct, yes. And that's pretty consistent with how zoning measures a lot of fences and walls, and so that's our recommendation for item 3. Do we have to vote on them?
All right.
So that the board would basically have
We're
to
going to
approve
make a
that
motion on
amendment.
this item and go to the next one, right?
Chairman Azarmi, the chair can open it up for discussion amongst the board members, and then once you close the discussion, you should call for a motion to
Right, so that's what I'm saying.
either approve or
one item
not.
at a time.
One item
I
at a time,
understand.
correct.
That was my question. Okay, any question on this one? Keith?
No, I'm good.
How about those who are on the phone? Dan Renner, Doug McKee, are you?
No questions from Board Member Renner. No comment. No questions from McKee either, Mr. Chairman.
No questions from Peter.
Okay. I believe it's a very positive, idea, the amendment, that it is going to help significantly, and as our building official, Gilbert said, that created a lot of confusion in the field. So I think that is going to ratify a lot of problems. So if you don't have any other comment, I entertain a motion.
I'll make that motion.
We have a motion by Keith,
I'll second that.
and we have a second by the vice chair.
And Chairman Zarmi, I apologize if I could just interject. It's not clear. I just want to make it clear for the minutes what the motion is, if that's a motion to approve or a motion to deny the proposed amendment.
Motion to approve. Okay, so Keith, you want
I'll
to?
make a motion to approve the amendment to the, is that 105.2?
Correct.
Right. Yes. All right, so we have a motion and we have a second, right?
I still second that.
We have a second. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any nays? We have the votes, motion carries. Okay. Gilbert?
Chairman Ozami, section number 4 on your packet is a discussion and possible action for recommendations for expiration of International Building Code Section 105 and International Residential Code 105.5 of both codes. In the original adoption, we basically kept the same verbiage as the building code had, and I'll just read it for you. The section is provided no changes have been made and will be made in the original plans and specifications for such work, and provided further that such suspension or abandonment has not exceeded 1 year. The word abandonment written in the International Building and Residential Code was somewhat confusing. A lot of people would have their permits expire, but they would claim that they have not abandoned the project. And so we actually just want to do a verbiage change there and change it to read as such suspension or last inspection. So typically we go, the building permit can be reinstated within 1 year of the last inspection, and in marking out that abandonment. I think that it gives more clarity of really what our policy is going to be. So that's staff's recommendation.
Okay. Any question from the board? Comments? Doug, Dan, do you have any comments?
No, Mr. Chairman. No comment from Renner.
Okay. Okay, do we have a motion? Anyone?
Mr. Chairman, I move that we go forward with the amendment on IBC section 105.5 expiration.
Okay, we have a motion. Do we have a second?
I would second that motion.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
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 Any nays? We have the votes. Motion carries. Next.
Chair Rosani, number 5 on your schedule is a discussion and possible action for a correction of the winter design temperature table, section R301.2.1. This was an error that we made. Somehow the winter design temperature was indicated at 109 degrees, but it's actually incorrect. So we make the proposal to add it to our climate area of 34 degrees Fahrenheit for our winter design temperature. So that's staff's recommendation.
Oh, just for your information, yesterday Bullhead City was 118. Okay, any discussion on that item? Okay, if you agree with it, can I have a motion?
I'll make that motion to approve item number 5, which is the table 301.2, to change it back to the correct temperature of, what was that, 37?
34 degrees.
34, yeah. Okay, we have a motion. Do we have a second?
I would second that motion.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion on this item? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any nays? Okay, we have it, motion carries. Next.
Chairman Azani, section 6 of your packet is a discussion and possible action and recommendations for understair protection for the International Residential Code, sections R302.7. A little background on this is the 2009 code required fire sprinklers for all residential structures. The state of Arizona made an amendment that the local jurisdictions could not adopt that section. Going into the 2012 code, the same situation. Going into the 18 code, same thing, as we don't have an adoption for fire sprinklers. Although the code did address all structures having the sprinklers, and they derated some of the fire resistant material. For one was the separation from the garage to the main dwelling was dropped down to 1/2 inch type X gypsum drywall instead of, and we've made that amendment back to the 5/8 drywall for fire protection. Another one was the ceiling of garages with livable above the garage. That was derated also for fire sprinklers. We actually made that amendment in the last code change 2 to 5/8 type X drywall. What we did miss was understair protection. Typically it was 5/8 without sprinklers. The code did change it to 1/2 inch with sprinklers. And today our recommendation is, and we missed it, was to add that section to include 5/8 type X drywall for understair protection.
Okay, so this applies only for the area under the stair, right?
Correct. Under the stairs if it's storage, or typically if it's enclosed for storage.
All right. Any question? Doug, Dan, you have any questions?
No, just one quick question. Hey, what if it's not open? We don't have to drywall that before we drywall the rest of it, do we?
No, it's only if it's enclosed.
Okay, just enclosed storage deals with access. Okay.
Any other questions? Say it again. Hello? There's some additional ones. Okay, hearing none, into the motion.
I would make a motion that we approve building department recommendations for understair protection to 5/8 type X.
I'll second.
Item 302.7, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, we have a motion, we have a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
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 Okay, do we have any nay? If not, okay, motion carries. Next.
Next item on the agenda is number 7. This is a discussion and possible action for recommendations for swimming pool definitions under the International Pool and Spa Code of the 2018 code. Basically, what we found out was the state has a more restrictive ordinance than the International Swimming Pool and Spa Code. With those, we have to take into account both state law and our adopted code. Typically, the most restrictive applies. In this case, the state's application would apply. The building code identifies a body of water and declares it, defines it as a pool when it has 24 inches of water or less, or more. The state code actually dropped that down to 18 inches. So if you have 18 inches of water, it's a pool, and it has to have the barrier requirements and all the other requirements for a swimming pool. So staff's recommendation is to change this to the more restrictive state ordinance.
Okay, so Gilbert, it has to be 18 inches or more, and then the width has to be 8 feet, correct?
Correct. The code reads, the water, contained bodies of water that contain more than, we want to change it to 18 inches or more in depth at any point, and that are wider than 8 feet at any point, and are intended for swimming. So this would exempt a lot of the small kiddie pools and stuff like that out of it.
Okay, any questions? Dan, Doug?
Nothing from Member Renner.
Nothing for me, Mr. Chairman.
All right. Okay, I entertain a motion. Keith?
Mr. Chairman, I move that we adopt the ISP SC Section 202 definitions as proposed by building officials.
Okay, we have a motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All in favor say aye.
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 Okay. Motion carries. And there was no nay, right? Okay, motion carries. Next.
Chairman, number 8 on your agenda item, a discussion and possible action recommended for means of appeal of the International Property Maintenance Code, Section 111. This was kind of missed on our original adoption of the codes. Just to give you an idea of, each code has a specific route for appeals and for enforcement. We have adopted the Mojave County Building Ordinance, which spells out a means of appeal through the board, the Building Code Advisory Board, and through stuff. So to be consistent with our building ordinance, we recommend a modification or an amendment to the code to include, I think it's Section 8 of our building ordinance, which directs all appeals to the Building Code Advisory Board and all enforcement through the building ordinance.
What is in the Section 8? Could you kind of briefly?
Section 8.
You don't have to read the whole thing, just
Okay, let me see what it is.
Elaborate.
I believe Section 8 is our building ordinance, which defines, out the advisory board, and that appeals are to be to the advisory board. So in our building ordinance, it establishes the advisory board and gives the power of appeals and interpretation decisions to the board.
Okay. Any discussion here? Hearing none. Can I entertain a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve item number 8, which is the Section 111 means of appeals.
Do we have a second?
I'll second that motion.
We have a motion. We have a second. Any further discussion? Dan, Doug?
No discussion. No discussion from Renner.
All right. All in favor say aye.
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 Any nays? Motion carries. Gilbert?
Chairman Rosarmi, Section 9 of your packet is a discussion on current building division policies and practices. Some background on this is we met with quite a few contractors and asked them of how our procedures are doing, how our inspections are doing. We got some positive feedback in regards to how we're handling different things of, say, supply shortages, and some of the difficulties in the building industry currently that we're facing. Some of the policies that we've enacted probably within the last 6 months were some things in regards to obtaining temporary certificate of occupancies when some of the items that were not life safety could be in the house waiting for inspection due to supply shortages or manpower shortages. Some other ones were allowing, we made a decision to allow some residential site plan work to be done without fully having the grading assurance done, so they could actually break ground on some of the slab foundations without having the full infrastructure put in. So give them a kind of a jump start on the housing to get some stuff going, to keep crews working. Because some of the things we found, we were looking at was just a holdup of some of the paperwork was actually, holding up a lot of the work crews, and then the work crews are obviously need to keep busy, so they're jumping to another site. So you're, a lot where contractors were losing their workforce just based on some of the delays that we were seeing. So some of the others we're allowing, we're looking into more of a Skype type inspection or photograph inspections to be called in for some stuff of, say, re-inspections. So we're looking into that. That's kind of, our IT department doesn't like Skype because it's a security issue, but we're looking through some of those. Another things of our policies we're looking at, and we brought this before you too, we're looking at electronic plan review submittal and electronic permitting. That should be coming online pretty soon for over-the-counter permits, probably within the next 2-3 months. So we do realize there's some issues out in the field, and obviously for the contractors and for the building industry. We're trying to address those, and for a while it was daily. It was daily we were getting calls for, I can't get doors, or I can't get windows, or just something, and it doesn't seem to be slowing down. I was talking with Mr. Borden Arugi. It just seems that, and Mr. Azami, that windows are backlogged and stuff. So we're having to make some modifications and changes to our policies in order to accommodate some of these times.
Gilbert, could you elaborate on item number 1 when you were talking about without vertical combustibles? I mean, could you give you?
In this case, we've had 2 situations where a developer had the track map completed, and test me if I'm wrong, completed, APN numbers done, but the infrastructure of some of the streets were not signed off completely and the assurance bond not released yet. It's always been a policy to not have vertical combustible materials on site, and typically that's a fire department requirement. So we looked at that and kind of said, can they start doing slab foundations only on the beginning of the track without having the insurance bonds released for grading and stuff like that, even though all the grading's done. It's waiting on paperwork, kind of. So we made some decisions on that, and the fire department agreed, and we had some properties start slab construction to get them going.
Chairman Azarmi, just if I can elaborate a little bit, where we were is we had a couple of developments that had constructed almost everything on the subdivision, and it was basically a matter of inspecting and scheduling it to the board and getting the full release of assurances before they could start building. And one of them approached us and said, everything's done. If we can get buy-in from the fire department, would you have any objection to us at least getting to the slab? So we looked at it and said, yeah, no, that makes perfect sense. If we can help in keeping this, keeping things moving forward. The roads were in, for the most part, it was all done. It was just a matter of waiting for the paperwork. So we conditioned the approval of some of the building permits to allow up to the construction of the slab until the full release of assurances. And once that full release of assurances, then the conditions were removed and they could go vertical with that.
Okay. So Director Walsh, the permit is issued then on these, right?
Yeah, so the building permit, so we reviewed the application, reviewed the plans, the permit is issued. It's just conditioned that it can only go to the slab until the full release of assurances.
Again, then the address and all that, because I just went through that, as you know.
Yep.
So I know that was different than, this particular.
Yes, so this is one that just recently, so the ad, similar to one that you had there with the addresses, we worked with our staff to be able to input those addresses it's a process, and working through all of that, we were able to in some of these situations, approve these building permits conditionally up to the slab phase, and then once either the property escrow trust agreement is released, or the other, basically any of the assurances, once they're released, then the continuance to full build out.
Yeah. Well, most definitely, these memos that was issued by the building official, Gilbert, it is shows that there's a better understanding of where we are at in the market and the crazy time that we are living in right now. The only comment that I have is I wish, these memos and all that would be getting to the end users, because that was the first time I saw these. And you have our email addresses of like all the contractors that they participate. And, none of these, were, I believe, distributed among, the end users, unless I'm wrong. This is the first time, as I said, when I got the package, I was able to see that. But I think the intention was, for the end users to benefit from these relaxation of the ordinance, correct?
Chairman Azarmi, that's correct. And a lot of, basically, and you bring up a great point, and I apologize for not disseminating that out to all of the end users. The intent on ours were to give our internal staff additional tools to be able to provide that customer service. So if they see, hey, this development over here is having an issue with this deal, here's a tool that you can do to keep them moving forward. And I'll admit that a lot of these were based on discussions that we've had and that we've had with other developers and contractors as well, trying to better understand the atmosphere and the market that we're in currently, and trying to be a partner with the building community.
Is this item for motion, or is it just informative?
Chairman Azarmi, it is not. It hasn't been agendized for any action,
Right.
just
It's
only as
informative.
discussion.
Okay. Yeah, go ahead.
So we get to discuss on this?
Sure. Your opportunity.
I just want to I kind of agree with a couple things where I think we need to be informed of stuff as the contractor. Not when I say we, I mean the contractors need to be informed of any policy changes or anything of that matter. As an example, I know contractors that have been failed because there wasn't bollards in the garage, or for a final inspection, or for a final inspection being failed because there wasn't a ladder, so we can look into the attic on that. I know contractors didn't know anything about that. So I think if we're going to do something like this, we need a strong clarification to the contracting community of, hey, we're going to start looking in the attics on a final inspection, or does this house need a bollard or not in the garage during plan review even, not on a final inspection type. There's just some, and I know that we adopted the 2018 and we're having some growing pains with it, and I get that. I just feel that for the contracting community, we just need to be updated on some stuff as well, so it's not, oh, here it is, you failed type of deal. There's been quite a bit of that.
Board Hamilton? I agree. And one thing we're going to be doing is we're going to be holding quarterly meetings again. And that will give us the opportunity to present, any changes or any policy decisions that the board will have a say-so in. I think that'll help a lot. The other is we will be emailing out, if it's a formal written policy, we can either mail those out on a mass mail out to the contractors and the associations.
Yeah, echoing Richard's, comments. As I said, it's very interesting. These are going to be really helpful, but information, unfortunately, if the intention was like, from your field inspectors, to get to us or to the contractors, I don't think that was the case. And I know that, for a fact myself, we could benefit from the next item that we have, the next sheet that we have issued on May 11th. And, obviously that was not the case. And all it takes is like an email to everybody. I think that, that would solve a lot of problems, I believe. I think that, the more communication we have, us with you and you with us, I think that it's much easier to work out there, and it would create less headaches for inspectors out there, in my opinion, because at least we know the guideline, right? For example, the next one is about, re-inspections and things like that, or the drywall and lath, and with the absence of windows and things like that, that would be really, really helpful in today's, market right now.
Chairman Lozani, board members, I agree. What I've also seen in some other jurisdictions is, and I'll go back prior to me, and I've been with the county for 12 years as a senior plans examiner, we really didn't have a formal written policy manual or a book. And I've seen a lot of the jurisdictions do. They post it on their website. So you can, if you have a question or you have a question of how an inspection is supposed to work or a policy in that, you can actually look that up on our website. So I'm going to institute that. And again, with the mail out of decisions and the board's help, I think we're going to get a lot more knowledge out there.
Right. So these memos that you had went through, I assume, the director, I assume right here, it says through Director Walsh, and then it got to the building inspectors, right?
That's correct.
So they had that access. That's the only thing that Richard and myself, and I assume Doug McKee, who are contractors, group, asking you to do, and a whole bunch of other people in the field, is to, receive these memos, so we would be able to implement our strategies, out there in the field and comply with, your instructions on that. That's all we are asking, to have a better communication on that one. I think it would be really, really helpful. I can tell you right now that, on the windows, you're looking at about 6 months, which is crazy. I mean, absolutely, we are living in a different world, absolutely different world. And again, you don't start the project, you lose your manpower in this tough market. If you, go forward with it, framing gets done, and just like what we explained to this lady, that, the wood is going to be sitting there with no windows, is going to be, and it happened to me, which I approached you, if you remember, we had a meeting, and that's exactly what happened on that. It was like, sitting there for like about a month or whatever. So I'm saying that, this is a very, I believe, a correct decision at this time, because right now things are not getting any better. Hopefully it's going to change to better, but right now I had a meeting with one of the executives of the Mill Guard in my office, and that's what they told me, is that they don't have it. They cannot help in any which way, to provide, windows, shorter term. They cannot do that. And, as I said, we placed some orders, and it's going to be in end of January and, beginning of February, which is unheard of. So again, appreciate, the working with us and working with the community. But again, it would be really helpful if we would be able to have these, broadcasted with everybody, so there would not be any confusion in there. Doug, do you have any comments?
No, I agree with you 100%. You pretty much said everything I wanted to say. Absolutely.
I appreciate that. And again, one thing, are we done with this section, or? Okay, do you have any other item?
That concludes that item number 9.
Okay, so do you have any other item, or is it?
We do have item number 10 is discussion and action, possible action of the election of officers.
Okay.
On item 9, I would just, again, I would say it's very positive to see that you're actually, understanding that the environment that contractors are working in right now. I would encourage at any time, because things are changing so quickly, you never know what that next thing is that's going to be 6 months out. I would strongly encourage being able to put out emails to the list of contractors that you have, again, you know, there's more than just, for me at least, I've experienced it in a lot more than just windows and garage doors, but those are two of the things that actually, right now, I have concerns about on a home right now. And another one is appliances. I don't know if there's, you know, what the next item is going to be that all of a sudden we can't get, but I think the quicker that you can get out changes to these policies, because again, I hadn't seen these until today, the sooner you can get these out to the contracting community via email or however, notices, you know, in the offices when you go in is always helpful. I think the better. Just my own, again, helps me to sleep at night because, you know, again, I lose sleep right now. I was telling you before the meeting, I don't know if I'm going to have my garage doors. I don't know if I'm even going to have my appliances for the house I ordered in January by August. So it's just, like I say, it's a brand new world. So thank you.
Yes, it's a different time, that's for sure. Okay, so I guess the last item is the election of officers. What do you want to do?
Any nominations for chair?
Yeah, go ahead.
I'd make a nomination for Chairman Azarmi to continue doing a fine job.
Thank you.
I will second that motion.
Okay, we have a motion, we have a second. All in favor say aye.
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 I appreciate it. Thank you. Any nays? Motion carries. For vice chair,
Can I get who the second was? Can you please state your name, who seconded that motion?
McKee.
That was McKee.
Correct.
Okay. Go ahead.
I'd make a motion for Commissioner Hamilton to continue as vice chair.
I'll second that. Okay, we have a motion, we have a second. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
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 Aye. Aye.
Any nays? Motion carries. Thank you. Okay. Is there any other item?
Chairman Azani, the last item on your agenda, number 11, is just comments, announcements by the board.
Oh, yeah. Okay, we have comments, announcements? I know I have. One thing that, you know, we talked about last year when we were doing this is, you know, from that point on, and I'm sure Director Walsh has heard me many times, is that, you know, in order to eliminate, and again, don't get me wrong, Gilbert, you're doing a great job. I mean, especially with these provisions that you provided, that's going to be very compatible to the current market that we have. But one thing that, you know, we basically talked about, and it was part of the discussion we had, was, you know, items that you want to implement, if you would give the opportunity to have a debate on that, that would eliminate a lot of confusion out there. I mean, that's why, you know, we had that meeting with county manager, with Director Walsh, yourself, you know, not long ago, about, like, you know, for example, the soil or the geotech report. That created a major, you know, issue in the community, and it still is going on. You know, there is a confusion going on there. So my recommendation is that those items, you know, is being going on if you need to. And again, you know, there is no cost to the Mojave County. We are all volunteers. I would appreciate if you would, you know, have like 1 item, 2 item, 5 item, whatever it is that you want to implement out there to have the opportunity to have it debated. And maybe at this end of the table, we would be able to help, you know, as we basically saw in the case of the geotech report. That would be, you know, something that would be able to help in general, you know, and eliminate the confusion. Because at the front desk, sometimes, you know, those who are working, are not maybe fully educated about what they are telling people, and it turns, you know, to become like a major, you know, confusion, headache, and complaints, unnecessary complaints. So I sincerely appreciate if you could go back to what we discussed and, you know, have that, you know, opportunity to have a discussion before adaptation by you. Director Walsh, do you have any comment on that?
No, as I mentioned, we appreciate all the feedback and input that we can receive from the board. So yeah, no, we'd be happy to share directions that we're going and definitely seek the board's input as we make those decisions and moving forward.
Thank you. Gilbert?
I agree, and I think one aspect of meeting quarterly will help that out a lot.
I appreciate that. Thank you. Any comments, Richard?
I just had a question. You know, as again, you know, this new world we're living in, as things come up, you know, let's say all of a sudden we can't get, I don't know, countertops. Is there any kind of a method for contractors to alert the building department of a new problem that we're having? What is there a preferred method? Is there anything in place for how to go about that?
Typically, it's been directed to me since I make the decision on the interpretation of the code. We've looked at almost every situation that someone comes up with. And then it's a matter of either working with them. It might be an isolated incident. I'll just say one of our developers couldn't get electrical panels. We worked with them of a possible modification of a panel that would work for their, for their buildings for 6 months. So for a while, it seemed every day something was coming up. There's an issue and we have to address it. If it is, I'll say like windows and doors, that seemed to be a large thing of every contractor is being affected by that. So we do need to take a look at that. Sometimes we might have to make a decision prior to bringing it to the board. And we'll try to make the best decision we can and still bring it to the board. But sometimes it's a critical crunch time that we might have to make, that I might have to make. And so I can try my best.
Great.
Well, but again, at the same time, I believe we want to make sure that it would be uniform. Because sometimes, the information which we found out in our discussion, Kingman was using a certain way of, inspecting or ruling, and then in Fort Mojave Valley was a different one because, again, the communication was not, getting, across. So I think that would give us the opportunity to be able to all work under the same guidelines on that. So, I mean, to echo, our board member here, that is, I think, would be very, very important to be able to communicate as much as possible and be able to debate it, on that as much as possible to be able to do that. I mean, give you an example, the windows that you just mentioned, I believe not only it is helping the homeowners and helping the contractors and all that, but actually it would help the integrity of the building itself. Because the framing gets done and there is no window for 6 months, well, that wood is going to be sitting there and, it's not loaded because we cannot get the roof and shear. I mean, I'm talking about the past. And, that would be a problem. So, now with this understanding, you can carry on. You can basically protect the investment of people and progress to some extent to be able to hopefully, the 6 months gets there and you can get your windows and put it up, I think that would be, I don't know. I mean, I don't believe that talking to the suppliers and vendors and all that, they don't have any answer. I mean, I talked to executives, Eagle Tile. I talked to them, like, what is going on in terms of the roof tile? Well, 10 to 13 weeks out. We don't know. And we don't know. And again, sometimes, they have to use a certain kind of cement that they don't even have that color, and that might even extend even more. I mean, that is unfortunately what we are dealing with right now, and just like anything else in the day-to-day, as we talked about, is like you sleep and then get up in the morning and say, okay, what is new now? What is the new information we have? So again, I appreciate that. Jokingly, I think that, we are going to get to a point that we can offer homes with no windows, just like the Caribbean, homes in, Bahamas or whatever, that they don't have windows. Maybe we get to that point. I mean, it's crazy, absolutely crazy.
Chairman, if I may, just to elaborate a little bit on Chief Building Official's comments and responding to Board Member Ruge. We're open. Like I say, I can't emphasize enough. We're here to be partners with you and to help you complete these projects. So if you run into any kind of roadblocks or hiccups or anything like that, let us know as soon as possible, and we'll see. The code, I know we've had lots of discussions on the code, and it's big and thick and got all sorts of different ways in it, but there are also workarounds within the code. So if you share the issue that you're having, Gilbert and his staff are very well versed in that code, and they'll do everything that they can to find a solution in there to help you.
Thank you. Keith, you have any other comments? No.
I'm good.
Richard? Dan? Any comments?
King from Dan. No, thank you.
Okay.
I have something really quick, Mr. Chairman.
Go ahead.
Just it's more of a technical IT question or comment. Is there any way? I have no problem with the new remote dial-up, IVR system that we're using for inspections. There's a convenience to it and probably a level of efficiency at your guys' end. But the only one that I have a problem with is the combination inspection. Is there any way we can come up with a code for combo? Where it embosses the electric, the framing, the heating and air and plumbing, everything in one. It just seems like it takes forever to keep hitting, each individual. If we could just do like 140 is, for a combo, because I don't know many people that just call in for a heating and air inspection or just a framing inspection.
Chairman Ozami and Board Member McKee, if I could have my senior inspector.
Sure. Paul?
Because there is a method to that.
Okay.
Okay.
We don't know.
Hey, Paul Baffert, I'm the senior building inspector. You'll probably know me. I live at 549 Horse Mesa Road in Golden Valley, Arizona. What we've been doing on that to address that is if you just call in the framing inspection, we know it means a combo. Now, we don't have one that says combo inspection, but if you just call in the framing, we all know it's combo, and we'll do the combo inspection because we never pass the framing until all the other ones are passed. So if you just call in framing, we know you need a combo, and you're right, it takes way too long to put in all of those inspections one by one, so hopefully that'll help you.
It's about a 10-minute
Big time. Thank you very much.
Paul, have it.
Chairman, and that goes back to a memo to the contractors.
Correct.
Yeah, that's about a 10-minute
Correct.
process
That goes back to what we were just talking about, maybe a blanket to the contractors stating, hey, you can do this if you want to. We're good with that, correct?
You just call in for a framing, this will cover your combo.
Correct.
Perfect.
It goes back to communication.
Yeah.
I agree.
Paul, I have a question. Sometimes, the footing inspection is two parts. Like, for example, if you have an RV garage and you have a structural steel post known in the thing as a flagpole, that means one inspection, and then you have the footing inspection after that. Do you have like a miscellaneous, how do you do that?
I understand. We do that sometimes also because there'll be a house with a detached garage, and then that garage has a footing with itself. What we've been trying to do, and successfully in most cases, is when we as inspectors will sign off on the card or right on the back, and I understand now you say, hey, the footing's already been used, I can't call it in. When we do our input in the computer, we try to put it in as comments. We don't say it's approved on our computer. Like if you looked online and looked up your inspection, it wouldn't say approved, it would have a comment and say, RV garage footings okay to pour. And then on the next inspection, when all the footings were done, we would put in approved. And that's what we're trying to do internally to keep that open. Now, if you did call in and it said you cannot schedule this inspection, it's already been done, you can always use other, which is under the fourth inspection, under framing. There's a number there that just says other. If you use that, and then you can put it in, and even if you didn't have a note, it puts you on the schedule. And maybe the inspector would call and say, hey, what did you guys want? I don't understand this. But at least you'll be on the schedule and on inspection for the next day. And as a default, I've always said, pick anything. If you're really having trouble and you can't get a hold of us and you need inspection tomorrow, put in an inspection for any item, because we're going to call and say, well, you can't have your final yet. You didn't even have this. Well, I didn't. I was having trouble. I couldn't get in here. It's something we need to fix. Or of course you could text me or call me, you know, by 8 o'clock in the morning if you had trouble the other day, and we'll put you on the schedule. You know, if there's a mix-up like that. We usually head out about 8:30.
Chairman
I'm in
Nazami,
at 6:30.
if I may, we're fortunate in that the IT expert that is helping us out with all the Acela stuff, he's also helping us with this meeting right now. So I just got a message from him. We're currently going through an update to Acela that will, it's, you know, sometimes we feel like we're pushing the boulder uphill, but eventually we're going to get to online submittals and that. But one part of that is that we are changing record types on the back end. It shouldn't affect too much on your end, but he just messaged me, and as we switch over to the new record types, it will help address a lot of these issues as well. So
yeah, I think that would be very important. I believe that, you know, it would be much easier if we have, for example, footing 1, footing 2. Yeah. Instead of other, because other maybe creates confusion for the building inspector out there. You know, that what is this, you know? But I think that would be something, that things that, you know, and again, the inspectors would be able to provide information to our IT that what are the one that, you know, created confusion out there. And again, you know, they say, well, you know, they already signed off on the footing, you know, at this time. So when they is called again, they think that, you know, maybe the job wasn't ready, and per Paul, you know, there would be a nice $65 deal. So, which you already addressed, that is not an issue right now. But I think that would be really helpful if we would be able to have the inspectors that they know some of the inspections might need, you know, 2 inspections, maybe call it inspection 1, inspection 2, footing 1, footing 2. I think they know that's related to the footing. I mean, that's my comment. I don't know, your IT knows better if that is a possibility or not.
definitely, and we'll look into that and see what we can do to help simplify it.
I appreciate that. Thank you. Thank you, Paul.
Thanks.
Just a quick question on that, the framing inspection equals the combo inspection. Does that include electric and gas green tag?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay. Any other question anywhere? Richard? Dan? Last call.
Nothing from Dan. Thank you for asking, Mr. Chairman.
Doug?
No, sir, Mr. Chairman. I'm good. Thank you.
Okay. I guess, do you have anything, Gilbert?
Chairman Zoni, I do have one last item. In your packet for item 11, we put in a calendar. We want to tentatively set our next board meeting for October 12th in these chambers at 1 o'clock, and then try to schedule on January 11th. And we've marked those, highlighted those dates on your calendars. If that, check your calendars, and if those are acceptable, we'll put those up.
Alrighty.
I just wanted to bring one other thing. We've been doing some statistical data on permits, on inspections. Real preliminary right now, but my admin people just compiled it today or yesterday. And actually, one was real interesting is we're, out of all the inspections over a year period of all our inspectors, we have a approval on inspection rate of 78.8%. Which in another category we clocked was having correction notices, and it was 15 point something percent. So one, we want to actually congratulate you. Those are pretty high stats of approvals throughout the whole process. I think we did 34,000 inspections on that. So I want to compile more of that data together, get it more, and we'll be bringing it to future meetings for that.
You know, just to compliment, the building department in our area, I know Fort Mojave, Mojave Valley area. I just want to let you know that, they're doing a great job. For your information, I received a call from one of the building inspectors, Josh, that, he says that he looked at the footing and everything was okay, but he feels unsecure about, the slab to be compacted enough or not, which was very, very appreciative I was of him, doing that, because I immediately went out there. With the number of homes we have, there is no way I can be on on that, and construction managers on as well. But that one phone call was very, very helpful, and I think that's the way it should be, because, that's what they're doing. And he was trying to be helpful, and he did a great job. I went there, and he was 100% correct. And, I told the concrete guy that, from now on, it has to be per this standard and, get it done correctly and all that. And if it wasn't, for his phone call, maybe in 118 degrees or whatever, the contractor would not really pay attention to it. And, so I'm saying that, they're doing a great job. Not only they're doing the proper inspection, but, communication that they had was very valuable. So I just want to commend, the inspector out there and the training to be able to make that phone call. It was, really appreciative of that. It was correct. I mean, absolutely correct. Needed water, needed compactors and all that. And I'm glad that, he did that. And I'm hoping and encouraging, other inspectors, in the county to do the same thing, because some of, builders are very busy and maybe, they miss it. So one phone call can be really, really helpful, because contractors' intention is to build good homes. I'm talking about in general. So, I just wanted to make sure that, I bring it up to you, that I appreciate that.
Thank you.
I don't think we have anything else. Mr. Attorney, do we have anything? Do you want anything?
If nothing else, then I would suggest that the chair call for a motion to adjourn.
Okay. Okay, so we have a motion. We have a second? Second. All in favor say aye. Aye. Thank you.
Aye.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone. Doug McKee.